I can't tell you the signal she gives me. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast Sunday service. My name is Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, and I welcome you. And guys in here, if you could turn your phone off or down if you haven't done it. And for people watching this week, if there's anybody who's never been to a Center for Spiritual Living, we believe there's one God, many paths to that God, and we're here to love, honor, and support you, no matter what your divine path is. And the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles, whoever you are, and wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you're welcome here. Our practitioner and reader today, doing double duty, is Ginny Panic. Today is Unexpected Income Sunday. There's also a board meeting if anybody wants to stay for the board meeting. And also, I guess 2 weeks from yesterday, April 29th, is the last Saturday of the month. And we're going to have, rather than meeting in a restaurant, we're going to have a potluck at Tom and Sue Carter's house. And then Barb Loftus is going to talk to us about her once-in-a-lifetime trip to Africa. And she really experienced some really, really beautiful things. So the potluck will begin at noon, and then 1 to 2, Barb will talk about her trip, and then she'll answer questions. And if people want to hang out, Tom and Sue said they're more than welcome, right, to walk the beach, play bocce ball, right? Whatever. So if you're going to come, please let me know. I'll try to keep a list so not everybody brings dessert or whatever. So that's really it. So we can go with the next song, Beck.
So let us rest our mind in this now moment, leaving behind the busyness of the week, leaving behind the busyness of the day, and resting ourselves in this sacred moment, as we know together that there is a light that is so bright. And this light is more than just a passing thing. It is eternal. And this light lives within us, expresses and experiences through us, knows us better than we know ourselves. And as we move into this understanding that this light is the truth of who we are, it is the glory of God being revealed as each one. And as we see ourselves as the glory of God being revealed, we see each other as the glory of God being revealed. And if we can do that, if we can see each one, even those that cannot see it for themselves, then we can bring into the world a peace, a love, a harmony, a glory that is so profound that it will change the world. And I am grateful for this understanding, and I'm grateful for this moment in time. I'm grateful for this presence, this light, this love. I am grateful for the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast. I am grateful for the members and for the friends and for all that are watching this. I am grateful for Dr. Reverend Ron Fox and his message this morning as he opens our hearts and our minds to a greater understanding, as we carry that greater understanding into our life each day and expound upon this glory of God that is within us, that goes before us, that goes wherever we are, because it is the truth of who we are. And as I know this, and as I experience it, and as I witness it, I see more joy and more love. And I see that which is unknown to many and known to me. And that is the glory of God being revealed. And I see this so perfectly, so beautifully, and I release it into the great I am that always says yes. And so it is. My reading this morning is from The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And Ernest Holmes is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living. In the back of the Science of Mind textbook is a part called Teachings from the New Testament. And so this is on page 633, The Light of the World, John chapter 8, verse 12. I am the light of the world. Jesus was not referring to his human personality, but to the principle inherent in generic man. They who follow this inner principle shall have the light of life, for that principle is life. I am has a dual meaning. It is both individual and universal. God was revealed to Moses as the great I am. I am the universal cause, the causeless or the self-existent one. Moses taught that I am is the first principle of all life and the law of cause and effect running through everything. Jesus said that he came not to destroy the law of Moses, but to fulfill it. How could he fulfill it except by teaching the relationship of the universal I am to the individual I? In all the sayings of Jesus, we find this thought brought out that God is universal spirit and man is his image and likeness, an individualization of his eternity. Therefore, when we understand that our own I, we shall walk in that light which lights the world unto the perfect I am. We can consider this from another viewpoint. Man is the only self-knowing mind of which we are conscious. A self-knowing mind, of course, is one that is conscious of what it knows. Man, the only self-conscious being in this world, must be the light of the world. To know this and to understand why it is so is to know the truth, which alone can set us free.
So thank you, Jenny. Hey, Alex. So in case you hadn't guessed by now, I'm going to talk about light. Well, at least that's the title, Bringing Light into the World. And I want to start with a quote from Leo Buscaglia, who wrote, "Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or a small act of caring, all of which have the power to turn a life around." So we teach that we attract what we would become. So if we put kindness out, we're going to get kindness back. And kind of what Ginny was reading, Jesus said that the two great commandments are to love God and to love your neighbor. And I thought about this week, and if you do the second, you're actually living the first. Think about that. To love God, to love your neighbor. If you love your neighbor, you're actually loving God. And I saw somewhere when somebody said that money will buy a fine dog, but only kindness will make him wag his tail. So Rabbi Byron Sherwin tells a story of somebody who was counseling who was inconsolable. A man was inconsolable because his wife had died. And in one of their sessions, he said to the rabbi, he said, "But you don't understand. I loved my wife. And once I almost told her." True story. And it made me think, how many times have we almost told somebody we love them? Or how many times have we almost asked for forgiveness? Or how many times have we often helped somebody? And I thought, today's a good day to start doing that, because we never know how a small gesture is going to affect somebody or touch somebody. So I want to share a couple of examples with you. And the first one actually happened to Becky and I, well, this Friday. So Becky and I were in a restaurant Friday having lunch. And after the meal and after the check was paid, right before we were going to leave, I said to Beck, "I need to use the restroom." And when I came back from the restroom, Becky was sitting there cleaning my sunglasses. And I said to her, "Were they dirty?" And she said, "Just a little, but I was cleaning mine, so I thought I would clean yours too. And it really touched me in the moment. And so I said to her, and I was standing up now, I said, thank you. And I really love you so much. And from behind me, I heard somebody say, it wasn't Becky, it was somebody else behind me who was also leaving. She said, how sweet that is. And keep on saying it. And I turned around, and this woman had heard me say it, and she said to me, and she had tears in her eyes, she said, never stop saying it. I lost my husband 2 years ago, so I can't say it anymore, but you keep on saying it. Just a really simple thing. I probably tell Becky I love her 20 times a day, but somebody overheard, and it made a difference to them in the moment. And the other example, I read a story recently about somebody who was a soldier was coming home from the Vietnam War, and he had read how people coming home from the war were not getting a good reception. And so he was really nervous. He was on a train, and he was really nervous about how people were going to react to him. And he was sitting on this train, and a little girl reached over, touched his hand, and gave him a magazine. And years later, this is what he wrote at the end of the article that I read. He said, I'm sorry. The small gesture always resonated with him. And so he lived a life of kindness and giving. All right, that's important. So he wrote, I have to believe that my small gestures have the same effect on others. And to that little girl, now a woman, I would like to say thank you once again. I mean, think about that. Just, again, another small gesture, gave him a magazine and touched his hand. And in some respect, it changed his life. So Ernest Holmes, who Ginny talked about, Ernest Holmes said that we should live a life of enthusiasm and have a consciousness of love. And he said that when we open our heart to the divine presence, that will be flooded with light. And I think what he meant is that when we do that, when we feel this light, we have a desire to be something, to do something, to serve. And we serve in part because it's Spirit speaking to us, and also in part because we're all part of the human family. And some of you might be familiar with Ram Dass, and he's written a whole bunch of books, and we used to use it in one of his books to teach meditation in practitioner class. And my favorite Ram Dass book, he wrote with somebody named Paul Gorman, and it's titled, How Can I Help? And in the book, they say that helping is natural. It's like a reflex. And he said, you're walking down the street, somebody trips, your arm goes out. You see a car in a ditch, you stop and you push. You have somebody in your life, a coworker or whatever, that's sad, and you stop and you listen and you show them that you care. And for me, I thought, what he's saying is, in short, you live, you help. And I just want to give you another example from my life that happened a few months ago. So first I have to tell you, I have a pet peeve. Well, I have two, but the one that applies to this story is, it really ticks me off that when you go into a gas station, they charge you for air. I mean, it's air, for Christ's sake. And that probably wasn't the right thing to say, but it just drives me nuts. I mean, I don't know when that started, but when I started driving, nobody charged for air. But around here, every gas station that I know, except for BJ's, charges for air. And so whenever my meter on my car shows that I need air, we go out of our way to drive to BJ's. So a couple of months ago, I needed air and I just didn't feel like going to BJ. So I said to Becky, all right, let's break down and I'll pay for it. So I pull up to the machine, and now I've never done this before. And I'm looking and trying to read the instructions. And somebody else pulls up that wants to use the air, and the fella gets out of his car, he comes over and he said, "What's up?" And I said, "Well, I never used this machine before." And he said, "Let me have your credit card." And this is somebody now I have never seen, I don't know, never met. And I give him my debit card and he said, "Here, let me show you what to do." And he put my debit card in and he took it out and he said, "See," and he showed me what to do, how to do it. And then when it dinged, he said, "Okay, now you got 2 minutes worth of air." And then he took the hose and he said, "Excuse me," and he filled up all of my tires. Well, I stood there. I mean, this is somebody I didn't know, never, probably going to see again. And when I was just so touched that he did it. I just so effusively thanked him when he got done. And he said, "That's fine." He said, "Go on and have a blessed day." I mean, that's what kind of we're talking about, an act of caring, an act of kindness. The choices that we make determine how we're going to be known, what our legacy is going to be, and so we get to choose service, compassion, love, or not. All right. But if we do, we're never going to be sorry that we stepped forward and did it. And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote extensively and did all kinds of research on death and dying. And one of the things that she found in her research is that people on their deathbed, people who were getting ready to transition and were having a difficult time, never regretted what they did. It was the things that they didn't do when they had the opportunity to do them that they regretted. So Martin Nepo is a really wonderful spiritual writer. And in one of his books, he says, care is what holds us together. A soldier in war carries a picture of a loved one. We keep the memory in our hearts and minds of the first time we met somebody we love. And he said, these are the threads that are everywhere, and kindness is everywhere. We see it all the time. And we were put here to love one another and to care for one another. And, it doesn't have to be a big thing. We can start really small, a card, a nod, a smile, hold the door open for somebody. All of those things are, small. Listen to somebody. They're all acts that touch. I love this. Mother Teresa said, if you can't feed 100 people, feed just one. That's the message. Shirley Chisholm, I think she was the first woman to run for president. She was a Black lady who was a representative from Brooklyn, New York. And one of the things she wrote was, service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth. It's the very purpose of life, not something you do in your spare time. And, one of the things in life, we all have some kind of gift. We all have something to offer. And we're not all going to be president of the United States or, a great sports star, but we have something. The world needs teachers. The world needs good parents. The world needs plumbers and electricians. So whatever the gift is, we're called to do it without any expectation of getting anything back. And the truth is, whenever we step out in kindness and give, whatever we get back is more than whatever we've done. So I want to tell you two more stories before I close. I came upon this story this week that I had read years ago and really touched me. So, and I'm not sure, I think it might be a true story. It's about somebody who has a lot of money. And he decides one Christmas time that he's going to give the people that he's close to in his family the gift that they had wanted for a lifetime. Imagine if somebody came to you and said, you know, whatever the big gift is that you've wanted, I'm going to give it to you for Christmas. And so for his brother, what he gave his brother had always wanted this big fancy sports car. So he buys his brother this gorgeous sports car for Christmas. I think it was a yellow Corvette. And his brother gets in the car and he's so thrilled and so excited. So he's driving all over and he winds up at some point being in a really poor neighborhood and stopped for a red light. And he notices there's a young boy standing on the curb staring at this gorgeous car. And so he rolls down the window and he says to the young boy, said, nice car, isn't it? And the boy said, it's gorgeous. And he says to the young fella, he said, my brother gave it to me for Christmas. And the young boy says, I wish and the fellow in the car thinks he's going to say, I wish I had a brother like that. And instead he said, I wish someday I could be a brother like that. And it made me think, if we had a choice, which brother would you rather be, or sister would you rather be? The one that gave the gift or the one that got the gift? So the other story I wanted to share with you is from Wayne Muller, who and this also is a true story. He writes about this couple that get together, and I forgot their name now, but it doesn't matter. They got together, and after dating a while, they decide that they want to get married. And after they get married, they want to have a child, and they have a little girl. And sometime after they have the little girl, the woman finds out that she has inoperable brain cancer. And she has to go through all of these treatments. And she starts to lose her hair. And her husband wants to, in some way, make her as comfortable as possible. So he decides he's going to shave his head too. And they do it together. They have some kind of a ritual where they sit down and they both shave their heads together. And Wayne Muller says it's now been years since his wife died, but he still has the box with both of their hairs that they had shaved. And Wayne Muller wrote, our lives are made up of these moments. Simple words and actions together weave a day. Our days become our life. Every gesture is a seed, and the seeds determine the harvest. As Rumi reminds us, let the beauty be love. Let the beauty we love be what we do. So I wanted to put it together, and I want to do that with a quote from Ernest Holmes from his book, Words That Heal Today. And he said, it is only when we view life from the standpoint of an expanding soul, destined forever to exist somewhere, that we can make either sense or sanity out of human experience. If we view life from the standpoint that each is an evolving soul, destined to live forever somewhere, we shall see that in the long run, life must return to us that which we reflect into it. In the long run, only the merciful can obtain mercy. Hate will beget hate, and love will give birth to that which is lovely. Joy will find joy, and peace join with peace. So God bless you. Thank you for being here, and have a wonderful week. For a moment. So I just give thanks for knowing that there's one life and that life is God. And that life is our life now. And so I speak this word for all of us. And I just this morning want to especially speak a word for Patrice. And know that the divine presence of spirit moves in and through Patrice. I know this is not the easiest time. It's a difficult time. And so I know spirit moves with her, bringing peace, serenity, compassion. And I know for her and that she moves through this time and knows and remembers the beauty and the wonder of the relationship that she had with her mom, and that brings her, as she moves through her life, great peace and comfort. And I also want to speak a word for Ed and Barbara Powers. I know that this is a difficult time for both of them, and I know that the healing presence of spirit is moving in and through Barbara right now, bringing healing. And I know for her that on the spiritual level, she is whole, perfect, and complete, and that every part of her operates in divine perfection. And I speak a word for all of her doctors, nurses, technicians, medical people. I know that each one of them is divinely guided and directed to make perfect healing choices for her. And she moved through this time. She moves through this time easily. And for Ed, I know that spirit touches him and brings to him and through him peace, serenity, compassion, and love. And I know for him that he gets through this with Barbara, and they move beyond it into a life of love and joy. And so for all of this and so much more, I just give thanks. I let it be and release the word and know it's so, and so it is. So if